Young birds on the street misleading them. Call them the lost generation. No one's teaching them, and no one's leading them. And it's just misdirection. War zone, tell them enter at your own discretion. And they say that Jesus wept, so I ain't afraid to cry. But I ain't Jesus. Will I rise? I'm afraid to die. And if I said something different, I'm a faithful liar. But she never raised a sucker. I ain't afraid to try. And they say that Jesus wept, so I ain't afraid to cry. But I ain't Jesus. Will I rise? I'm afraid. Family. How's everybody doing tonight? What's going on? I missed everybody. It's another edition, Street Services, live from Trail 5, episode 8. Want to start off by apologizing for my absence. Week before last, I don't know what happened. I was talking for like 30, 40 minutes, but the audio wasn't working. So the show was going, but I don't know. I guess the headphones wasn't working. I guess they're working tonight. I hope they're working tonight. And then last week, I had some, we was experiencing like Comcast had an outage down here in my area in Miami. So, man, we've been going through it for the past couple of weeks down here. But I do want to welcome everybody back, welcome myself back. We're gonna get into it. I got a great show for y'all tonight. I do want to start by acknowledging or recognizing that we are in some perilous times right now. We are in I can't say unprecedented because we have been here before, but we are in some unparalleled times as of in recent history, not yet. And I do want to send my prayers and um, hopes and wishes, and you know, even to link up with a lot of people, a lot of the Ukrainians, a lot of the Eastern Europeaners, not just Ukraine, but people from Poland, and a lot of people from that area. Man, I just want to send prayers to those folks because we are so privileged, in the United States to have the freedoms and have the protection that we have. Not only are we protected by the vast oceans on either side, but our military, and not everybody in the world is that privileged. So I just want to send my prayers out um, to the people of Ukraine and a lot of people of Eastern Europe that are suffering at the hands of Mr. Putin. But tonight I got a great show for you. Tonight we have a great not co-host, but I'm interviewing a great person. Right, my first show I interviewed Chaplain Chap, and he was the epitome of what this show is about because he has one foot in the community and he has one foot in the faith world. So tonight I have another powerful person who not only has a one foot in the community and the economic and the political world, but also a foot in the faith world. I have with me tonight Miss Yes with Yesse herself. Let me go ahead and bring her in. Are we live? Can you hear me?
Hi, everybody. Can you
We got you. We got you. Finally,
hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Nice. Well, thank you so much. I
Yes,
hear
yes,
you.
yes.
Yes.
Perfect. So Miss Yes with Yesse, a
Awesome.
staple on the new season Gospel FM page podcast show, the Good Morning Show with Pastor Steve, which is always a entertaining show. And then recently, I came across the Latino gospel jams where you guys were jamming with the Latino gospel. I didn't even know that was a thing. So I
Hey,
mean,
to be honest, I didn't
yeah.
know it was a thing.
So I mean, I'm always jamming with you. It's not a stale show. It's not a boring show, as I say. It's nothing wrong or it's nothing boring with being saved and sanctified. It's actually a good thing. And the way you present it, it makes it fun. It makes it entertaining to praise God, to be a Christian, and it's a great thing. So I appreciate you for that.
Thank you so much. I appreciate hearing that. It's a couple things for me, as it pertains to the radio world, right? And like what we're doing right now. I think the microphone is probably the most powerful tool that we have to be heard. And so for me to get an opportunity to just promote that sense of inclusion and diversity through the mic on radio, it's amazing. And definitely through the gospel. Something that I have struggled with in the past was, as a person with a disability, thinking that society viewed me as a punishment, when that disability is sin, and all these different ideas that society um, perceives disability as. And so like really indulging and learning the word and what disability really is, and the fact that Jesus' disciples, so many, if not all, had some kind of disability. It's a powerful thing to say, no, God, we are made in a very unique way, and God made us this way for a reason. And so with that in mind, it's like, let's find what it is that we're here on earth to do, and do it regardless of our differences. It doesn't even have to be disability. It's just whatever difference we have, right?
Yeah,
So
that reminds me of the story where the disciples, they come up to Jesus. They see a man with a disability. I don't know if I think he was blind. One of the blind guys who sat in front of the temple, and they brought him to Jesus, and they said,
mm,
because of whose sin is he blind? Is it because his mother sinned? Is it because his dad sinned? And Jesus said, it's because nobody sinned. He
it is
was
not
this way
because,
so it could show the mercy and the greatness of God. So,
so that the work of God can be displayed in him. And that's
uh-huh.
John 9 verses 2 and 3. That's my
Yeah,
that's my jam. That's my
yeah, you
verse.
see what I'm saying? So that's talking right about it. It's not about a sinful thing, but it's to show. Let me show you what God can do through this person. So you're
through what
definitely right.
through what we consider, or what the world considers weaknesses, is actually our strength.
Yes.
And so when we're asking for healing and all, it's like, be careful what you're asking for. And that's what I learned myself. It's like, be careful what you're asking for, because that very tool that God has given you, that others consider a weakness and so on and so forth, that's my power tool. That's my way of getting to the world, to the people, to parents, with what we're doing right now, and the events and all these different things. So I think it's a very, very powerful thing, and I'm grateful for the platform to be able to reach so many more people. So it's
So
cool.
as you just stated, you're reaching out to individuals, you're reaching out to parents, you're reaching out to kids, you're talking to people with, all different levels of disability in the community. You're a community activist around this issue, but also a spiritual activist around this issue. So what is the biggest catalyst that inspires this drive? What's the biggest what's the one that gets the fire in the bones going?
Ooh, wow. The biggest one for me is living my personal experience born with spina bifida. I was born with spina bifida, and the doctors right away, they are like, you're not going to live very long, or your daughter's not going to live very long. If she does, she's going to be in a wheelchair for the rest of her life. She's going to be a vegetable. She's not going to live past 7 years old. So it was always about what I would never be able to do, and or accomplish, for that matter. So after much physical therapy, surgeries, procedures, lack of physical therapy, because they said I wouldn't qualify for physical therapy because I was paralyzed. So they just kind of gave up on me, in a sense, as it pertains to doctors and insurance companies, because insurance companies don't like to pay for a lot of stuff, as you may know. So it's really been that, I want to say, struggle, but I've never seen it as a struggle, just that way of life of constantly having to, quote unquote, advocate and fight for what we need, or know we deserve, that has given me that drive to continue. And then my life changed in 2011. I was literally lost. I'm an adult. I'm in my 20s. I was not driving. I had lost all of my benefits. I'm talking about Social Security income, my Medicaid, my Medicaid waiver services, and those are just fancy terms for government benefits. I lost it all because I was working. And so I found a nonprofit organization that helped me get everything back together, remove an overpayment that I had. And they obviously serve people with disabilities. And it was at that moment that I realized there was so much more to my life waiting for me than what I knew as my disability and my limitations at that moment. And so they gave me an opportunity. I was volunteering. I remember I was taking two buses to get there because I wasn't driving and just so many things going on, but I needed to learn these things. And those very things that they taught me for myself, as far as the Medicaid and getting benefits and independent living skills. Like I was doing cooking classes and I didn't know how to cook. So I would learn how to do some kind of dish and then teach our consumers how to do it. So it was a reverse psychology to help me as I helped other people. And that became my passion because I was like, okay, I wonder how many thousands of people are in my same or similar situation that need services out there. And so literally since then is what I've been doing every day of my life and I absolutely love it.
So that's crazy inspirational. That's crazy inspirational. But a lot of us we get lost on this journey. That would have defeated most people. So, what education from your past do you leverage to keep going on this journey that you're on?
What education from my past?
Yeah, is it hardships in school? Is it something you went through in high school, in college? The education that you have to say, all right, I know X, Y, and Z. I know how to do this. Let me, or was it learned, or did you pick it up on the way? Because for you to have the knowledge to say, I know Medicare don't want to pay for this. I know insurance don't want to pay for that. I know I have to get a job for this. What was the education curve like to
Well,
keep it
it,
to keep
it's
it to keep it moving?
it stems from my own experiences, right? So that's where it started, like just kind of trying to figure things out for myself, and then just learning the ins and outs of why I wasn't receiving certain things, or why I had an overpayment, or why Medicaid said I didn't
Give me one.
qualify.
Give me 1 second. Can
Okay.
you get the camera from me? Give me 1 second.
Okay.
Wake up. Mile 7, 4, 5, 6. 1 second, guys. I'm sorry. Mouse click. Mile 7, 4, 4. Mouse click. Stop listening. Sorry about that. I had to make a quick adjustment. So you were saying that it was a learning experience as you went along. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Experience as I went along the walk of life to learning to how to reobtain benefits or reobtain my Medicaid or advocate for physical therapy. And really the heavy load was in the school system. That's when I really learned how to become my own advocate because my parents spoke mainly Spanish, and I was in the center of my individual education plan meetings, which are the IEP meetings. So I really had to soak it all in to the point where, in my high school days, rather, it was just me advocating for myself. They didn't need my parents anymore. So that drive, that's what drove me to continuing into the path of advocacy and being a service provider for others, because I see it as being a voice for others the same way others were a voice for me at some point. If you can imagine being told you're never going to drive again, you're never going to be able to work, you're never going to be able to walk for that matter, you're not going to be independent. So all those no's, it's like, yes, I am because I knew that I could and I had
Yes.
the support around me to show me that I could. I wasn't never alone in the process. So I think all of that just really pushed me to do what I do now. And very recently, as recent as last Sunday, I very close friend of mine who I called my pops passed away, and he's the one that introduced me to this world. He was my first helper, my first advocate, the one that introduced me to all of this disability world, gave me my first secure job. Um, and so that was it's been very tough, but I appreciate him and who he was because of everything that he did for me. And that is a promise that I'm making to never stop doing what I'm doing because of what he did for me. So
Well, I'm definitely sorry for your loss, but his work continues.
that's right,
You know,
absolutely.
so bringing in, started with him. Now you, now you're encouraging other people. What do you feel like people like yourself, like what role do you feel like your mentor, now you, play in this empowerment of the disability community?
I think that the strongest, most powerful thing for me is the fact that I have a disability. And what I mean is, so many times we see those people, those that don't have a disability, like being service providers or advocating. And it's kind of like, do you really understand what we go through every day or
Yeah,
how we live every day? So, my most powerful thing is the fact that I have a disability and like I can be a voice and a helping hand to others like myself. And something that I always say is representation matters. So, being that representation matters, the more people with disabilities like you and I get into the world of advocacy and empowerment, the better others will be, the better off others will be. I always say disability doesn't discriminate, so why should we?
that's true. That's definitely true. It doesn't discriminate. So, what would you say would be your greatest accomplishment thus far in this journey? Whether it's an event you put on, starting the show, or seeing the growth of someone that you mentored from the bottom and seeing them flourish today.
Well, definitely my students. I call them my babies, my students, my kids. They are my pride and joy. I love them to death. I would do anything for them. There's some that have been with me for many, many years. There's some new ones, literally ranging from all ages, all, small to the older ones. And I absolutely love being with them and providing services to them. Uh, Along with that is our event that we have coming up is the Future Floristic Conclusion. I've been doing this event for 8 years, and it's a way of opening the door to community for these individuals. Like I said, all ages, all backgrounds. Is opening the door for them, giving an opportunity, working on self esteem, letting them know, like, listen, you're gonna work one day, so you need to have eye contact. You need to know how to shake hands. You need to know what your skills are, what you can do, what you need help with. And it's embracing. I'm not a fan of thinking, well, different ability or it accept who you are for what it is. A disability is a disability. It is what it is. That does not mean that you're not successful or that you don't have abilities. Everybody can do something. And my goal in life is to make sure that these individuals know what their abilities are and get to it. Go to work, go to work if you can work.
Yeah,
Go to school, be successful, and let other people know, like, hey, I might be different. We all are, in my opinion, but I have talent, skills, and abilities. And the way that I do this in the show is by getting them on that runway. If you can sing, if you can dance, if you can run the walkway in the fashion show, that's what we do, and just continue to open those doors. There's a big lack of representation of individuals talented individuals with disabilities in, entertainment, the red carpets, Hollywood. Huge lack of representation. So my dream is to make Inclusion its own production where I can hire people with disabilities, and we can have camera people with disabilities, directors, editors, performers, and get them that chance to be in a studio, in a recording studio. When I walk into a recording studio, when I walk into a news station, I'm like in a castle. It's huge. It could be the smallest studio, but for me, it's a castle because I absolutely love that, that world, if you will. So it's definitely providing that opportunity for people that otherwise would be left behind or not have that opportunity.
I definitely love it because, as you say, representation matter. So to
Yes.
see ourselves in front of the camera is great. So how does faith fit into all of this empowerment pushing?
How does faith fit into all of it?
Yeah, how does your faith fit into the whole message?
Faith is everything. Faith is everything. Without the faith, I would not be here. Um, Without learning, without those mentors of faith that have taught me, like, listen, you matter. And if God made you like this, it's because He needs you like this. If He hasn't decided to heal you, then it's because you have a purpose as someone with a disability, and that is okay. And when I heard that, it's like, whoa, like here I am thinking that I need to be healed, and why isn't God listening to me? And am I a sin? And so knowing that I am perfectly and wonderfully made in the image of God is huge, and that's what I want everybody I come across to know. And it's biblical, so I have the Bible to back it up. It's biblical, so I that's everything for me, and I think it's very, very important to voice your faith. A friend of mine said earlier today, when we do a show, prayer is mandatory. I don't care what God you're praying to, but we praying. you
That's
know,
true.
at least act like you pray, but you pray, but you're praying. So it's everything. I think that for me, things go so much better when faith and God is involved. And without Him, I wouldn't be here. So He gets the glory from the beginning.
It's important to see something outside of ourselves. So with
Absolutely.
that being said, Jesus healed the lame multiple times.
Hmm.
How does that play in? I mean, we quoted John earlier, does that give you a lot of hope that Jesus healed people with disabilities all the time?
Hmm. You know, like I said, that's something that I have thought about a lot and quote unquote struggled with, if you will. But if God decides to heal me tomorrow, great. If God decides to keep me as I am, that's great too. I'm no longer living in the what if. Why won't God heal me? Is He not listening? Is He not there? I'm not there anymore. Like I'm spiritually, in my opinion, and mentally strong enough to know that I was made this way, right? I know there's a song or something that says like that I was made this way. And again, it's important for all the kids and students that I work with to see me like this because it matters. Representation matters. They matter. I matter. You matter. And it is what it is. And I'm okay with it. I'm living with purpose, on purpose, just the way I am. And I'm good.
Well, I'm on that journey with you. I'm not quite there yet, but I'm on my way.
You know,
I'm
it,
on my way.
it's a daily thing. I can't tell you it's perfect and I'm perfectly over it. And we always have our thoughts and our mindset. We live in a society that sees all of that. Um, However, it's important to know the God we serve. If you know and you understand the God we serve and the purpose that He has for your life, and the fact that He had disciples with disabilities, deaf, mute, the whole nine yards. What is there to make us think that we are any less or any different than that? And my biggest, I guess, pet peeve to say it like that is when Even spiritual beings, spiritual individuals come and say, oh, well, the crippled or the leprosy, and use these like biblical terms that I cringe. I'm like, oh my God, I cringe, because everything is about the context of how it's said, right? So I know that in Bible school they taught us to read when it's biographical. There's a biographical, and there's two other types of paragraphs. You have to read the verse before and after the one that you're wanting to read to really understand the concept, right? And so that's very important. So it's important to interpret the word correctly versus how we want to interpret it. So disability has been a thing since the very beginning of time. I'm good.
Yeah, I like Mephibosheth. He still sat at the king's table, though he
Exactly.
was paralyzed when it wasn't even his fault. So it's
Mm.
there. So with this purpose and passion that's pushing you through the pain, what role do you see like people with disabilities playing in our economic and political and community or arena? Like,
Hmm.
yeah, we see them, we don't see them on the red carpet, dude, but do we see them in our community, in our politics, in our economics? What role do you see them? You're trying to affect the entertainment arena. So what do you see, or who do you see affecting the political arena?
If it were up to me and I could clone myself, I would have an effect on every arena, because I think representation is important in every single thing that we do. You're absolutely right. We don't have enough representation in the political world. A few years ago, I graduated from Partners in Policymaking with in Tallahassee. We went to Tallahassee and the whole nine yards. And again, I feel like our laws, our budget, as it pertains to disability related services, Medicaid waiver, none of that is going to change in a positive manner drastically until there's more representation. And so, what of individuals with disabilities specifically. And so, what happens is, yes, they go up there, including myself, to Tallahassee, and they protest and all these things. But we got to do better. We have to do better collectively, and set the correct representation, if that makes sense. And I'm not just talking about just people with disabilities, but all people. And I'm a strong believer that it is not until people that look nothing like you and me. Okay. It is not until people that look nothing like you and me, as it pertains to disability, start advocating on our behalf. It would be so much more powerful for somebody to be like, let Jessie in Tallahassee, let her be a representative of disability. Like, that's what we need. Look at the experience and her life and anything that they want to say. But it's those allies that we need to make true change.
Yeah, down here we have the Sabrina Cohen Foundation. We got the Woody Foundation that is making changes in the community, but we definitely need that political front to grow.
Yes.
So, I mean, I definitely agree with you. It's not
Yes.
until everybody knows somebody with a disability.
Everybody. And if you don't, you will. And if you don't have one, you will.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's very important. I'm very involved with the Arc of South Florida. We've done a lot of advocacy as it pertains to a recent bill that they want to pass, providing more funding for services for individuals with disabilities. And this came from the president, our current president, put it together before he was even president. And so, why are we still advocating for this? Why are we still waiting? Why is the budget being affected? Why is money being taken away to something else? Because these individuals in power that do not have disabilities don't know what we go through every single day. They don't see that there's a lack of personnel in group homes. They don't see that our students and our people need more employment opportunities, supported employment, supported living. They don't know what that's all about. The behavior issues that were caused or that were worsened because of the isolation during COVID. I mean, all these different things that I know because I'm in that world, and my clients. And the worst thing for me was that I couldn't see these people, these clients of mine, like I normally would during COVID time. It's bad. And so again, we live it every single day, but who's listening?
I can say COVID gave everybody a taste of what it's like to be disabled,
Exactly.
to not be able to move around when you want to, how you want to.
Mm. To your point, exactly. People experience what people with disabilities experience on a daily basis, with or without COVID. And so, one of the biggest things for me was advocating for employment. A lot of individuals with disabilities are qualified, have degrees, want to work, need to work because they need money, but they're not able to leave their house for whatever reason, or they don't have transportation, which is a big issue. So let them work from home. And all of a sudden, literally everybody was working from home, and you won't allow people that need to work from home to make a living? Don't get me started.
Listen, it got to be said. Somebody got to say it.
Don't get me started.
Somebody got to do it.
It's not fair. It's not fair. And yeah, I mean, it was unfortunate, and it's really sad when you think of it that way, that life wasn't very different for people with disabilities before and after COVID. I was blessed that I had the opportunity to go to my church whenever I wanted, and I had somewhere to go. A lot of people don't have that. So you know, when you are confined, if you will, in your home 24/7, you can't get out of your own head. What are people supposed to do? Let them work, make a
Yeah,
living.
that's the least they can do.
That's the
So
least
we,
they can do.
that's the least they can do. So we're
Yes.
not going to keep you. We're not going to keep you. Last two questions before we start getting to the juice of what I really want to promote this
Uh
show
oh.
coming up. So
Uh oh.
how what would you say would be the biggest way people with disabilities can play in our politics and economics tomorrow, today?
What are the biggest ways that people with disabilities can make?
Yes, what can I do? What can somebody do tomorrow, today, this week? What can we do? What needs to start being done like right now, right now?
Right now, we collectively all should be reaching out and being and sharing our voices with our leaders, as far as what the changes that we would like to see or we need to see. And that's an interesting question, because you know what, a lot of times we when I say we, I mean like we as people, we go right to the big dogs, right? Like we think the president, we think vice president, but start with your local community. Check out who are the local representatives in your local area. Start with them. They are very accessible. They are very accessible. It's super easy to set up meetings with them and let them know your issues, your concerns, rather, as it pertains to individuals with disabilities. Because if you are going through something, more than likely somebody else is in that same situation. So, on a local level, you can definitely, and we should, reach out to our local representatives, make that phone call, send that email, show up and knock on doors. I'm a fan of showing up. And if that pertains to transportation, whatever it is, every local representative has something they specialize. They got to look good, right? So if you look good, I look better. In other words, so find out what that is and just reach out to them. Don't be scared. Don't be afraid, for lack of a better word, to knock on those doors and voice your issues. And that's what we can do collectively on a local level. And media. I think there's so much more representation needed in media as it pertains to our issues or our needs as well. I'm tired of the same old stories, if you will, um, because it never changes, and there's always a negative connotation as it pertains to individuals with disabilities in different situations. I'm the first one to call, a reporter that wrote a story, and I'm like, look, that verbiage that you're using is not used anymore. Like, this is what we say now. I don't know. So educate, make yourself up, make those calls, be it the that you want to see in the world. That's a quote.
Yes. So speaking of media, let's talk about this show you putting on.
This
Let's
show,
talk about this show we getting involved with.
this show. Excuse me. I have a amazing collaboration with a friend of mine. He is Jairus Evans, who is a spoken word poet, and he has a daughter on the autism spectrum. And his wife is what she calls a mom advocate. So she's an advocate, and her organization, and they do great work in the community. So them, along with myself, are doing this collaboration, bringing our worlds together, right, to promote that inclusion and diversity um, on the stage. And so for me, as a founder of Funclusion, it is the first time in the big stages, and we're going to have live music. We're going to have different talents, including you, Joe, different talents, representation of all different different disabilities, to say we might have a disability, we might be different, we might be different backgrounds and culture, but we have talent, skills, and abilities. And that alone is going to be amazing. I'm so looking forward to that. And we're also having an inclusive fashion show, which I've been practicing with the kids for the past couple weeks. The fashion show is very interesting because it's, again, those with and without disabilities, all kinds of disabilities. And we're teaching self-esteem, self-esteem workshops like that to get them to the next level. So to be honest, some of them went from not to do it at all, and now they're smiling. Now they have eye contact. Like now they're very excited because that's what it's all about. That confidence that we have in ourselves to accept who we are and just have joy from within. And then those skills that we learn on the runway doing the fashion show is the same very skills you're going to need to get a job, to sit in an interview, the eye contact, the posture, how to dress for success. So all of those things is what we learn in the fashion show, and then take it on to the big stages in the final show. And like I said earlier, my goal in the future is really to get these same individuals participating to work the show. Like, you need to be designers, you need to be behind the cameras, you need to be editors, and we're gonna do this, and just make it into a by us for us kind of thing. So I'm excited. I love it, and that's coming up on the April 9th, right around the corner, at the Broward Center for the Performing Arts at 6 p.m. from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m.
Almost done. Yeah, so I would definitely be in the building. True Grit will be performing. I will be there. So let everybody know where we can find you. Where can we find Yes with Yesse in this world and in this digital world?
Mm. All over social media, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, you name it, internet. You can find me as Yes with Yesse or Yesse Leyva, YESSE LEYVA. And you can take a look at my website, and you'll see all the services that are provided through disability programs and training. And that website is dptsolutions.org. dptsolutions.org. And then YouTube. If you look up Funclusion in YouTube, my name, or Inclusion Through Entertainment, you'll be able to see previous events and activities in YouTube as well. And don't forget to join us on newseasonfm.com. And you can check out the radio station 24/7. It's also New Season Worship Center on YouTube and Facebook. And I'll be on with you guys Thursdays at 6:30, excuse me, and then Fridays at 6 p.m.
Definitely, y'all get all those links. Follow what Yesse is doing. You can find me at thenoblemanbrand.com. I've rebuilt the website. I've rebuilt modestislandmusic.com, which is what I've been doing while we've been going through crazy changes down here. But you know where to find me, thenoblemanbrand.com. We're going to wish y'all a good night. Stay safe, and peace to the world, man. Let me bang the outro right now.
Thank you.
Young birds on the street misleading them. Call them the lost generation. No one's teaching them, and no one's leading them. And it's just misdirection. War zone, tell them enter at your own discretion. And they say that Jesus wept, so I ain't afraid to cry. But I ain't Jesus. Will I rise? I'm afraid to die. And if I said something different, I'm a faithful lie. But she never raised a sucker. I ain't afraid to try. And they say that Jesus wept, so I ain't afraid to cry. But I ain't Jesus. Will I rise? I'm afraid. Peace.